The auction cage Mira sat in the cold metal cage, her hands wrapped around the bars. Her throat was dry from screaming. Her eyes, once full of fire, were now tired but not broken. Around her, dozens of cages held other humans. Some were crying. Some were silent. Some stared at nothing. The bright lights above them made it hard to hide, even in the shadows. She hated this place. The auction house was loud. Alien voices echoed through the hall. The crowd was huge creatures of different shapes, colors, and sizes. Some had fur, some had scales. All of them had credits to spend. All of them were here to buy humans, not for work. Not for war, but for companionship, for entertainment. Like pets, Mira wasn't going to be anyone's pet. A short blue alien with 4 eyes walked by her cage. It tapped on the bars and smiled with sharp teeth. "You bite, little one?" It asked in a robotic translator voice. She stared back, silent. Another alien, tall and red-skinned, barked a laugh. "She has fire. That won't last long. They all break eventually." Mira gritted her teeth, her fists clenched. But she said nothing. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Then the room went quiet. The crowd moved aside. A tall figure stepped forward. His armor was dark gray, clean and smooth. His face was partly hidden by a silver mask. His eyes glowed faintly behind it, blue and cold like a winter night. Commander Rail, everyone knew who he was. A war hero. A commander in the Zenith fleet, a living legend and a mystery. No one knew why he would come to a slave auction. He said nothing. He simply walked, slowly, from cage to cage. Every step was calm, controlled. The other aliens didn't dare speak. Then he stopped in front of Mira. She stared back at him. She didn't blink. He didn't speak. She took a step forward, grabbed the bars, and said loudly, "I'm not your pet slave." The whole room froze. Someone laughed nervously. Another alien whispered, "That one will be punished." But Rail still didn't speak. His glowing eyes stayed on her, as if reading her thoughts. Then he turned to the auctioneer and said 2 words, "I'll take her." The auctioneer blinked. "That one?" "Sir, she's untrained, wild, dangerous. We have gentler ones. Double the price." Rail said. Gasps echoed through the room. That price could buy 10 humans, but Rail didn't care. He placed his hand on the scanner, and just like that, the deal was done. The cage opened. Mira stepped back. 2 guards moved forward, but Rail raised a hand. "No chains," he said. Mira walked out on her own. Head high, eyes burning. If she was going to be taken, she would walk with pride. Rail turned and began walking. Mira followed, her mind racing. Why would someone pay so much for her? What did he want? They reached a black shuttle parked outside. It was clean and silent. As they entered, Mira looked around. No cages. No weapons. Just seats. She sat down across from him. He removed his mask. And for the first time, she saw his face. He looked young, maybe 30s in human years. Pale skin, sharp jaw. His eyes were tired, but not cruel. "You are not a slave here," he said quietly. "Not unless you choose to be." Mira frowned. "What does that mean?" Rail didn't answer. The shuttle lifted off and flew into the stars. The journey to his ship was quiet. Mira stayed alert, watching everything. But no one touched her. No one even spoke to her. Finally they arrived. Rail's station was large, floating above a dead moon, a private facility. No signs. No guards. Inside, Mira saw something she didn't expect. A room clean, warm, filled with soft furniture, books, food, even plants. "This is your space," Rail said. She looked at him, confused. "Why are you being kind?" Rail didn't smile. "Because I need you alive, and I need you honest." Mira narrowed her eyes. "For what?" He looked at her for a long moment. "That you'll learn soon." He turned and left, the door. Closing behind him, Mira stood in the middle of the room, stunned. This was no normal slave holding. This was something else. Something deeper. Something stranger. She wasn't sure what game Rael was playing. But she was going to find out. And she would never be anyone's pet. Welcome to the prison palace. Myra expected pain. She expected chains, a cold cell, maybe electric shocks. That's what most humans got after being bought at the alien auctions. But instead, she got silence and velvet floors. As the shuttle door slid open, warm light spilled across her face. She stepped out, slowly, ready to run or fight, but the hallway looked like nothing she had imagined. There were no guards, no cages, no screaming, just soft music playing in the distance, and the smell of flowers. Real flowers. The walls were made of smooth white stone, glowing gently. A small orb hovered near her shoulder, beeping softly. It projected a map into the air, her name at the top, written in alien script, then translated into English. MIR, a guest Unit 7. Please follow the guide. She looked around. Guest? Nobody answered. Mira followed the orb down the hallway. Her bare feet sank into the floor. It wasn't cold metal. It was warm, like carpet. Her eyes darted to every corner, searching for cameras or hidden weapons. After a few turns, a door opened with a soft chime. Inside was a home, a real, quiet home. One large bed, a round table, a couch. Shelves filled with books, some in alien language, some in English. A steaming mug sat on the table. The room even had a window looking out at a field of stars. Mira blinked. What is this? She whispered. Behind her, the orb spoke in its robotic voice. Welcome to your personal habitat. You are not under surveillance in this unit. You may eat, sleep, and explore freely. Please do not attempt to access restricted zones. Then it disappeared into the ceiling. Mira stood frozen for a minute. Then too, she didn't move until the smell of the drink on the table reached her. Hot chocolate. Her knees almost gave out. Who are these people? She muttered. She didn't drink it. Not yet. She didn't trust anything here. Instead, she began exploring. A closet opened at her touch, filled with clean clothes, even socks in her size. A bathroom with a hot shower and fluffy towels. Everything here was human-made. Or made for humans, but why? Later, she found a notebook tucked into the bookshelf. It was handwritten in English. The pages were messy, the ink smudged, but the first line chilled her. My name was Daniel. I don't know how long I've been here. Page after page was filled with memories. Not of torture, but of confusion. Daniel had been kept here. 2. He had lived in this same kind of room. He had eaten, read books, walked freely. He never saw Rael. Until the end. The last entry simply said, the test failed. I'm not the one. They're bringing another human tomorrow. I hope they choose better this time. Mira dropped the book. Her heart raced. Another human? She whispered. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching stars drift past the station. Somewhere out there was Earth, her family, her life. Now she was here, a guest in a palace with no locks. And still somehow, a prisoner. Just before dawn, the door chimed. Mira stood instantly, ready to fight. Rael stepped in silent, as always. He wore no armor now. Just a long black coat and gloves. You found the journal, he said. Mira didn't answer. Rael looked around the room. Are you comfortable? She glared. Comfortable? What is this place? Why are you keeping me here like a spoiled pet? Rael walked to the bookshelf and ran a finger across the spines. This station was built for research, he said. This unit was made for humans to help them feel safe. Mira laughed bitterly. Safe? You kidnapped me from an auction house. He turned to face her. Would you rather be with the ones who enjoyed buying humans? She fell silent. Then she asked slowly, what happened to Daniel? Rael's eyes didn't blink. He failed. The bonding trial. His mind couldn't adapt. He died peacefully. Mira took a step back. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Are you going to test me next? Rael didn't answer at first. Then quietly, no, the test has already started. Her blood went cold. Why me? She asked. Rael stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to leave. But before walking out, he said one last thing. You feel different. Your mind fights, but your heart listens. That's rare. The door closed behind him, and Mira was left alone in her golden cage. But somewhere in the walls, she heard a whisper, a voice soft. Human, help me . The secret room. Mira didn't sleep. Not after hearing that voice. It came from the wall, faint as a breath. A whisper. Help me. She'd spent the last hour pressing her ear against the cold metal. Nothing. The silence mocked her. Had she imagined it? No, she knew what she heard. There was someone else here, and she was going to find them. Rael hadn't returned since their last conversation. The eye orb stopped visiting. The warm meals kept arriving, but no answers came with them. Mira explored the living space again, slower this time. The books, the furniture, even the fake window showing stars, all too perfect. Too planned. Then she found it, a thin line in the wall behind the bookshelf. Just 1 inch wide, almost invisible. But her fingers found it when she moved a book aside. A hidden panel. Her heart jumped. She pressed it. Nothing. She pressed it again, then harder, with a quiet click. A piece of the wall slid open. Inside was a narrow hallway, barely wider than her shoulders. No lights, only darkness. She hesitated, then stepped in. The tunnel was cold and silent. Mira's feet echoed softly on the floor. Her hand touched the wall, guiding her through the dark. After a minute, she saw a red light blinking ahead. A sealed door. Alien markings glowed across it. Bioscan locked. Authorized users only. She placed her hand on the scanner. Just to try. The machine WHIR read. Then, to her shock, the door slid open. The room beyond was freezing. Lights flickered on white and sterile. And there, in the center, was a glass pod. Inside it floated a young man, human, pale skin, eyes closed. Wires connected to his chest and head. He wasn't moving. Mira stepped closer, breath catching in her throat. It was Daniel. She recognized him from the journal photo. His face looked peaceful, but too peaceful. Not sleeping. Not alive. Was he dead? Or kept? The screens around the pod blinked with strange alien code. But one line stood out in English. Subject: Daniel Cross. Status: mind shell state, bonding. Failure: memory seek. She backed away. Her stomach turned. What were they doing to humans here? Experiments? Memory control? Emotional manipulation? And now she was the next subject. Mira reached for a console, hoping to find answers. But before she could touch it, "You shouldn't be here," said a calm voice behind her. She spun around. Rael stood in the doorway. No anger, no weapons. Just silence. Mira's voice shook. "What is this? What happened to him?" Rael stepped into the room. His eyes looked at the pod almost softly. "He was one of the first humans we brought in," he said. His mind broke. He wanted to connect, but he was unstable. "You said he died." "I said the test failed. I didn't say how." Mira felt her fists clench. "So you froze him like a science project?" Rael didn't flinch. "We saved his body, but his mind is locked inside. No thoughts, no pain, no self." Mira stared at the pod. Daniel's face looked peaceful. Too peaceful. "Why?" She whispered. "Why are you doing this?" Rael finally looked at her. Really looked. "Our species doesn't feel emotions the way humans do. We wanted to learn, to understand connection, trust, bonding. So we studied humans. Not to hurt them, but to copy them. Like pets? She spat. No, like teachers. Mira's voice dropped. Then why buy us at auctions? Because that's the only place we can find the unchosen ones. The abandoned, the forgotten. We saved you from worse fates, Mira. Her name sounded strange coming from him. She turned to leave, but Rael said one more thing. You passed the scan. That door only opens for someone with potential. She froze. Potential. For what? She asked. Rael didn't answer. He walked past her to the pod. Placed one hand gently on the glass. Daniel's mind couldn't bond, but yours is already changing. You feel it, don't you? She took a step back, her chest tight. Don't talk like you know me. Rael looked at her, but there was something in his eyes now. Not power. Not coldness, loneliness. You don't have to be a prisoner here, he said softly. You can walk free, ask questions, learn, or you can run. The door behind Mira slid open again. Lights guided the way back, but the whisper still echoed. In her mind, help me. And she knew this station had more secrets, and some of them were buried deep. The bonding game Mira dreamed, but they weren't her dreams. She stood on a warship deck, watching a dead planet turn slowly in space. She smelled burning metal, felt cold, alien anger. Her hands, no, not hers, tightened around a command panel. And then explosions. Voices screaming in a language she didn't know, but somehow understood. When she woke, her heart was racing. She looked around. She was still in her room. The lights were low. The stars outside the fake window still moved like before, but something inside her had changed. She started hearing things, not just whispers in the walls, but thoughts. When the cleaning drone passed by, she knew it was calculating routes before it beeped. When the food tray arrived, she felt what the AI thought of her choice. High sugar, not optimal for bonding subject. Her head ached. She wasn't imagining it. That something was happening to her brain. Later that day, the eye orb returned, but it didn't speak in its usual robotic voice. It sounded human. Familiar. You are sinking, it said. Mira stepped back. With what? The orb flickered. With him. Rael finally came to her room that evening. But Myra didn't wait for him to speak. You're in my head, she said. I see your memories. I feel what you feel. That dream, it wasn't mine. Rael looked tired, not surprised. He sat across from her like a scientist watching a wild animal slowly trust the cage. It's called pre-bonding, he said. It starts when minds begin to resonate. You've opened doors without knowing, felt things I never told you. That's the first sign. I didn't agree to this, she shouted. He stayed calm. You didn't have to. The system chooses. When the connection is real, Mira shook her head. This is manipulation, invasion. You're hacking my soul. Rael said nothing for a moment. Then, when you cried in the cage, I felt it. But not like an observer. I felt it in my chest. Like it was my own pain. That shouldn't be possible. But it was. Mira looked away. Her throat felt tight. I don't want this, she whispered. Rael nodded. Then break it. She looked up. There's a test, he said. A room, one chair. One device. If you sit and focus on rejection, if your mind is truly closed, the bond will snap. And if it doesn't? She asked. Then we finish the process, Rael said. And your emotions will no longer be yours alone. The next day, Mira stood outside a circular white door. The words above it glowed softly. The bonding room, one mind must choose. Inside it looked simple. A chair. A visor. Silence. She sat. Slowly. The machine lowered over her head. Cold metal touched her temples. Begin, said the AI. At first, nothing happened. Then visions. Flashes. Rael as a child. Alone in a school built like a prison. His mother cold, distant. A teacher speaking about war breeding and emotional flaws. Then, A battlefield. Rail shouting orders. Watching soldiers die. Feeling nothing. Until Earth. Until her. The machine powered down. Mira was crying, but not for herself, for him. Rail waited. Outside. When she came out, her face was pale. You didn't break the bond, he said. Mira didn't answer. Instead, she asked quietly, what happens now? Rail took a deep breath. Now we become one mind. Shared memory. Shared emotion. You will feel my truth. I will feel yours. There will be no more lies. And what if I lie to myself? She asked. He looked at her solemn. Then I will. Feel it too. That night, Mira sat alone, holding the old journal. She opened the last page and wrote her own line beneath Daniel's words. The bond didn't break. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Just as she closed the book, she heard a soft voice in her mind, not a thought, not her own. Thank you for not running. It was Rail, and strangely, she didn't hate it. Mirror of minds. Mira didn't dream that. Night. She remembered, but not her own memories. She remembered standing in a glass room while doctors studied her. She remembered Rail, younger, silent, watching a burning ship drift into space. She remembered fear, not hers but his. And the worst part was, she felt it like it was hers. The bond had changed. No more dreams. No more quiet whispers. Now it was like walking through two lives at once, her own and Rail's. She woke to silence, but her head was full of noise memories mixing together. She touched the side of her face and flinched. For a second, her reflection in the mirror wasn't hers. Golden eyes. Smooth alien skin. A scar down the jaw. Then it blinked and became her again. I'm losing it, she whispered. That day, Rail brought her to a new part of the station. A room with black glass walls and no ceiling. Stars hung above them like they were inside. The universe itself. In the center was a machine, not sleek, not modern. Old, organic, wires like roots. It pulsed like it was alive. This is the mirror, Rail said. Mira raised an eyebrow. What does it do? It shows the bond, he said. Fully, no hiding. She hesitated. Why now? Rail looked at her more human than she'd ever seen him. Because if we don't understand it, it will destroy us both. They stood inside the mirror chamber. The machine hummed softly, 2 headsets. One for each of them. They sat across from each other like players in a strange game. Are you ready? He asked. No, she said, but do it anyway. They placed the headsets on. The mirror activated. And reality shattered. Suddenly, Mira wasn't in the room anymore. She was inside. Rail's memory from the inside. She walked through his childhood. A cold lab. Alien doctors poking his brain with emotion-blocking needles. Other children failed the test. One cried too much was removed. One laughed too much was taken away. Only Rail stayed quiet. He learned early. Feeling is weakness. Love is failure. Silence is survival. Then she saw herself, not a memory. A vision. Mira, but different, glowing veins. Her eyes lit with strange energy. A symbol on her back pulsing like a circuit. She was speaking a language she didn't know, giving orders to a group of humans and aliens alike. Rail stood behind her, silent, loyal, afraid. The vision blurred. Then another flash. A hidden lab. Files. Mira's name. Next to a line, Subject 9, Neural Core Compatible, Rare Link, FOUN. She ripped off the headset, sweating, shaking. Rail removed his too. His breathing was heavy, like he'd just run for miles. What was that? She said, almost gasping. He didn't answer right away. Then carefully, you're not just part of the bond. You're its origin. You were meant to lead it. Mira backed away. No, that's not possible. I'm just a girl. Rail stood. Not anymore. The moment you stepped into that cage, the process had already begun. Your neural signature, is different. Designed. By who? She asked. He looked away. That? We still don't know. Later, alone in her room, Mira stared at the mirror again. This time, the reflection didn't change, but she wished it would. Because seeing her normal face, that was the real lie now. She felt it in her bones. This wasn't just about her and Rael. Something bigger was waking up inside her, and it wasn't going to stop. Enemy signals, the stars outside. Mira's window were no longer peaceful. They were blinking, flashing in a pattern. Mira stood still, watching. At first, she thought it was just station lights reflecting off the glass. But the pulses were sharp. Time. Then she felt it. A pressure in her chest. Not fear. Not pain. A warning. Rael burst into her room without speaking. His eyes glowed dimmer than usual. His movements were faster, sharper. We're under signal lock, he said. A rogue fleet found us. Mira blinked. Rogue? They call themselves the Cleansers. They believe humans are contamination. Emotion is a disease. And they know you're here. How? Rael looked at her. You're emitting now. The bond made you visible to them. Your neural frequency is like a flare in the dark. He led her to the control deck. Mira's first time there. The room was huge. Dome-shaped, with holograms floating in the air, maps of space, red dots closing in. Rael tapped a panel. We have 20 minutes before they breach orbit. Mira saw the fleet on the screen. Not massive but focused. Predators. No warning signals. No negotiation. They're not here to capture, Rael said. They're here to erase. Mira stepped back. Because of me. Because of us. His voice was calm. They see the bond as unnatural, a threat to their order. Suddenly, a console beeped out another signal, but this one was different. Soft, tuning in directly to Mira's mind. She felt it before she heard it. Do not trust him. Mira froze. It was a voice, in her mind. Female, strong, echoing like a memory. He's using you. He always was. You're not bonding. You're awakening. And they want to control it. She clutched her head. The room spun. Myra. Rael stepped forward. Don't, she snapped. Who sent that signal? Rael's expression darkened. You heard it too? Yes, and she knew about me. He tapped quickly through the comms. There's no trace. Must be psychic relay tech. Illegal in most sectors. Then someone else like me is out there. Mira said. Rael didn't answer, and that silence was louder than anything. 10 minutes to impact. Rael handed Mira a small device. A sphere, warm in her hand. It's an AI core, he said. Your neural signature can unlock it. Inside is a prototype defense system. What does it do? It turns thought into action. You think it fires. She stared at it. And what if I don't want to fight? Then we all die. The ship shuddered. Enemy ships had entered orbit. The station's shields glowed as plasma fire hit them from all sides. Alarms rang. In the chaos. Mira stood at the center of the command room, holding the AI core. Her heart pounding. She thought of Earth, of home, of Daniel, of Rael, of everything she didn't understand, and she whispered, Fine, let's see what this bond can really do. The moment she said it, the AI core dissolved in her palm. Light shot up her arm. Symbols wrapped around her fingers, glowing. Like ancient code, her eyes burned. Not with pain but with clarity. She saw the ships outside not as dots, but as threats she could erase. One thought. That's all it took. She raised her hand, and the sky answered. Beam of energy exploded from the station. Silent, golden, precise. One enemy ship gone. Erased like a dream, the rest pulled back, even from space. They were afraid. When the silence returned, Mira dropped to her knees. Rael caught her before she fell. She looked up at him, eyes still glowing faintly. You said the bond was to understand, she whispered. But this is war. Rael looked shaken for the first time. You weren't supposed to awaken this fast. Then what was I supposed to be? She asked. His voice dropped. Controlled. Mira stood, back straight. Voice steady. I'm not your weapon. And for the first time, Rael didn't argue. I'm not your pet anymore. Space was silent again, too silent. The enemy ships had vanished, fleeing into dark sectors. But the damage was done. Mira's power, her awakening, had been seen. Now everyone would come looking, not just for her, for what she represented. Mira stood on the viewing deck alone, looking out into the stars. Her body still carried traces of light under her skin, glowing softly like fading fire. It didn't hurt. It felt right, but it also felt like a goodbye. She wasn't the same girl who screamed in that auction cage. She wasn't anyone's slave. Not a pet, not a project, and maybe not even fully human anymore. Rael entered quietly. Mira didn't turn. I'm leaving, she said. I know. They stood in silence. You lied to me, she said. Not with words, with half-truths. That's worse. I didn't know you'd become this, Rael said, voice low. None of us did. She finally looked at him. Then what was I supposed to be? A soft pet who obeys? A test subject who breaks? No, he said. A bridge. Mira shook her head. You wanted a bridge you could control, something to use. But the moment I started choosing for myself, you got scared. Rael stepped closer. You're right, I was afraid. Not of your power, of your freedom. Because that meant I'd have to let go. Mira's expression softened, but just a little. Then let go now, she said. The escape ship waited in the launch bay, sleek, fast, fully charged. Built for one. Mira walked toward it, her steps slow but certain. The crew, Rael's crew, watched her silently as she passed. Not as a prisoner. As a force of nature. Before she boarded, Rael held out a small device. A communicator, he said, encrypted. If you ever... I won't call, Mira interrupted. Gently. She took it anyway. Where will you go? He asked. I don't know yet. Somewhere quiet. Maybe Earth. Maybe farther. You'll be hunted, she smiled. Let them try. She stepped onto the ramp, then paused. Turned. Rael stood still, waiting. Mira looked at him for a long moment. I'm not your pet, she said. Rael nodded. But, she added, softly, maybe. I wasn't your enemy either. He took a breath, sharp and quiet. Then what were you? She smiled. Just a hint, a beginning. And with that, the ramp closed. The ship launched silently, disappearing into the stars. Somewhere deep inside, Mira felt something reach out, a thread of the bond. Not control. Not pain. Just a trace of connection. She didn't cut it. But she didn't follow it either. Some say they saw her again on lost planets, helping refugees, destroying machines that trafficked humans. Some say she became legend. Others say she vanished into the stars to build something new. Not a kingdom. Not a lab. Not a cage. A home. And the last words recorded from her flight log were, I was never yours. I was never anyone's. I chose my bond. And now I choose my path.